Hi, welcome back to my story time with Nana. I hope you're all excited about this story. I'm very excited about this story. Let's get started. Mr. Albright and the museum. After spending the day at the zoo and the fantastic subway ride, the Appletons returned home very tired. But that didn't stop the boys from wanting to know what was in the mysterious envelope. "Can we see what it is, Daddy? Can we see?" Alex asked. "Not tonight, boys," Daddy said. "I think we will sleep on this one tonight. We'll open it tomorrow after church." "Aw, Dad, please," Patrick pleaded. "No, son, not tonight. It's been a very busy week so far, and I think we need a break from the magic mailbox. It'll give us some time and something else to look forward to tomorrow. You boys go on and get ready for bed." And even though the boys were disappointed, they knew their daddy wasn't going to change his mind. They shuffled off to change and get ready for bed. And that night, Daddy read them a bedtime story about a family that lived on a farm. And it was sweet dreams for Patrick and Alex. The next morning, the boys helped with breakfast and the family headed off to their new church. It was right behind the rec center. On the way home, Daddy brought up the envelope and told the boys that when they returned home after changing, he would open the envelope. The boys were very excited. "Scroll through my many rooms. Look over my many sculptures and paintings. Learn about the history of Riverview. I'm sure you'll find everything amazing." "Look," Daddy said. "There are 3 tickets inside for the museum down the street. They're dated for an 11 o'clock tour on Tuesday." "Well, that sounds really exciting. Hey, remember when we took the bus ride with Mr. Frank?" Alex said. "There was a man on the bus that got off at the museum. I think Mr. Frank called him Mr. Albright." "I think you're right," said Mommy. "It looks like we'll get a chance to meet him on Tuesday. And it's a good thing because tomorrow you start your lessons with Miss Honey." The Appletons had been kept very busy since they moved into the village apartments. Sunday was a relaxing day for the family. They worked on organizing the apartment. There were still so many boxes that hadn't been unpacked yet. Mommy made a beautiful dinner, and later they watched a movie and had popcorn. On Monday, the boys went for their first dance and gymnastic lessons, and when Daddy returned home from work, they told him all about their day while they sat and ate dinner. The next morning, after Daddy headed off to work, Mommy and the boys finished breakfast and got ready for their day's adventure. They walked over to the museum and were there promptly at 11 a.m. The man they had seen on the bus that day with Mr. Frank was at the door, and he waved the family. "Come on inside." "Hello, Mrs. Appleton." "Hello, boys," said the man. "My name is Mr. Albright, and I'm the curator here at the museum. I can't wait to show you around." "Pleased to meet you, Mr. Albright," Mommy replied. "These are my sons, Patrick and Alex." And the boys extended their hands and shook Mr. Albright's hand. "Nice to meet you," they said. "It's my pleasure. Come on in. I have so much to show you," Mr. Bright answered, holding the door open for the family. He waved his hand to the right and he said, "On this side of the museum is the historical part. We're going to start in this part first so you can learn a little bit about the city in which you live." Mr. Albright and the family walked into the huge room filled with books and artifacts and giant photographs hanging on the walls. This city was originally a logging town. Being on the water was good for the city, Mr. Albright started. Loggers would bring their wood down the river and then take it by wagons to the train station. If you had gone the other way on the subway instead of to the zoo, you would have ended up at the train station. The train goes all the way across these United States, and that's how people moved product and traveled. Take a look around." After the family looked at everything in the historic room, Mr. Albright led them into another large room. This area had fancy paintings on the walls. that had their own lights shining right down on them, and statues and sculptures throughout the room. All of the art in this section of the museum is done by people who live here in the city. Some are famous, some are not so famous, but all of the artwork in here is from our community. We are very proud of all of our contributors. And now for my favorite part of the tour, Mr. Albright proclaimed, the working part of the museum. This is where I teach classes. Mr. Albright opened a door to a large room. Along one wall there were cubbies, and each had a little hook and a hanging smock. There were 3 large wooden tables, one with a saw attached to it in the middle of the area, and there were several small tables with wooden stools beside them off to the side. In the back of the room was a kiln and a furnace. I teach woodworking here, and pottery and glass blowing. There are other teachers that work here as well. I would like very much to give the boys a couple of private lessons, Mrs. Appleton. Is that okay with you? Oh my, said Mommy. That is very generous. Thank you. Again, it's my pleasure, he said. If you don't mind, I teach a class every Tuesday starting at 1 o'clock. There are several children from our building that take the classes. I myself live on the 5th floor, same as you. Well, would they start today? Asked Mommy. Yes, if you don't mind. Most of the other mothers do their grocery shopping or run a couple of errands while their children are here taking a class. The class is 2 hours long, Mr. Albright told her. Well, if you're sure you don't mind, Mommy said. Boys, would you be interested in taking an art class? I would, said Patrick. Me too, said Alex. Mommy, Patrick, and Alex finished their tour with Mr. Albright just in time. There were parents at the door dropping off their children for the art classes. The boys recognized most of the other students. Silas, Brianna, and Corinne, and Reese, and Maddie. They were the first to arrive. Well, I guess this is where I take my leave and get some of my chores done, Mommy said. Thank you, Mr. Albright. The tour was very informative, and I truly appreciate the art classes for the boys. Patrick, Alex, you mind Mr. Albright and enjoy your first class. We will, Mommy. Thanks for letting us take an art class, they answered. As Mommy left, Mr. Albright herded the children all into the art room. Good morning, class, he said to the children. Today we will be doing some pottery. I have a very special project that will take a couple of classes to finish, but I know you will enjoy making something for your mothers. Oh, that sounds like fun, said Reese to her sister. It does, answered Maddie. Mommy loves surprises. So does our mother, said Patrick. Mine too, chimed in Silas. I'll bet all the mommies like surprises, said Corinne. Okay, class, Mr. Albright began. First, I want you to pick a small table. At each table, there is a plate on top. It's actually a wheel. And I'm going to show you how to work the wheel to form pottery from clay. It may get messy, so go over to the cubbies and get a smock. I can't send you all home dirty, he said. The children each walked over to the cubbies and picked a smock and put them on. And it was really looking like an art class now. Mr. Albright gave each child a ball of clay. First, I want you to get the feel of the clay. Hold it in your hands. Press your fingers into it. Roll it around. The children began rolling and poking their clay. See how pliable the clay is? It's fragile, and it will take some time getting used to turning it on the bowl into a bowl. Actually, we're going to make 2 small bowls. Wait till you see what we do with the finished project. Mr. Albright and 2 other teachers helped the children learn how to maneuver their wheel and wet the clay, and slowly they began making their little bowls. They weren't perfect, but the children had a wonderful time learning how to make something so beautiful out of a simple ball of clay. Each child made 2 small bowls, And Mr. Albright explained that he would put them into the kiln and that would make the bowls hard. "What does the kiln do?" asked Alex. Mr. Albright told the children that the kiln ranges in temperature from 1800 to 2400 degrees, and that turns the soft clay into a hardened product. And once we have our clay bowls next week, we're going to paint them. "Wow, that seems pretty hot." "Oh, yes it is, Patrick. Yes it is." After class, everyone helped clean up, and Mr. Albright told the children that they could tell their parents what they did today, but when they started on the finished product, they would need to keep that as a surprise. "We're making something special for Easter. It will be a nice surprise for them," he told the children. When Mommy came to pick the children up, "Mommy, Mommy," Patrick cried when he saw her, "we made clay bowls." "Wait till you see them," yelled out Alex. "Wow, it sounds like you had a great time and learned something too," Mommy smiled. "Thank you, Mr. Albright," Mommy said. "I appreciate you spending time to teach the boys about art and giving me a little bit of time to get some things done." "You're welcome," he answered. "Just remember, next week we want to have a finished product soon." Mrs. Appleton and the boys walked home, and the boys told her all about the clay bowls and how the clay felt and how they learned how to use the pottery wheel. "It was so much fun, Mommy," said Patrick. As they entered the lobby of their apartment complex, the boys ran to the mailbox. There was nothing there. Maybe that was the last of the surprises in the mail bin," Patrick said. The family took the elevator to the apartment and waited for Daddy to get home. And it wasn't long before Daddy came in the door. "You will never guess what I found," said Daddy as he walked in the door. He was holding a book in his hand. A book? A book? What does that mean? What's going to be next for the Appleton family? I'm so excited about them. I hope you join me to find out. I can't wait to find out. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Good night.